New York has always had a place in the culture of gaming. It's the home of Street Fighter's Alex, Little Mac, and of course, Mario. There are countless conventions, arcade bars, tournaments, themed concerts, and parties popping up all the time. Many companies and nonprofits in the gaming sphere have a presence dotted along the famous skyline, and they are flanked by a rabid and passionate subculture. And at the epicenter of it all is a bright yellow awning adorned with a name that almost anyone in the city who has ever touched a D-pad is familiar with: Video Games New York. The truth is, you know Video Games New York. If you've watched retro game collecting content on YouTube, you've seen a tour of this store. It's small, it's packed, and it probably has that rare sealed still-in-box copy of Packy and Marlin you've been looking for. I've lived here for nearly 20 years, and I can't even so much as look at a CRT screen without the black and yellow branding showing up somewhere. It's part game store, part museum. A little slice of Tokyo's Akihabara, just spitting distance from the home of New York's punk scene. But that's not the whole story. What I'm shocked people don't know is how much more they do. There's a whole publishing arm supporting physical copies of rare indie gems. There's an event arm that helps sponsor projects and rents out rare gaming equipment for current and future generations to experience. There is so much more beyond the VGNY storefront, and so I'm here to sit down with General Manager Dan Mastin and get a sense of what exactly makes this store tick. My name is Noah Waterman here for GameRant. This is Video Games New York, and it's time to hit the road. We're just gonna go in. All right, let's do it. Let's check it out. You see, already it's actually kind of cool because not only are we dealing with the actual store itself, before we walk in, you see how they're celebrating so many upcoming events. I just saw these guys here. Dan going about his business. We'll talk to him later. It's totally fine. He's a busy guy. I get it. Well, let's pop on in to Video Games New York. This is already extreme. This is right when you walk in. This is so cool. Various arcade button types and caps. If you're trying to build your own system there, I love this. That is beautiful. Nothing quite says video game excellence than Sears. Raise your kids early on Mario while you still can, in the exact same binding that I had Ferdinand the Bull on. There goes my paycheck. I just kind of want that cut out and framed. Is that sacrilege? Rarely do I see them like this, the actual hard case. If you really want to relive the experience of jumping in your parents' back seat and ripping open the game to read the booklet before you're actually able to play it, this is the way to go. But check this out. There's a bunch of bagged up strategy guides. You know, now we just have game facts, but I ate this stuff up. I used to collect this stuff all the time. Yeah, figures the Assassin's Creed one would be larger than everything else. Ubisoft, you make your games too big. I did a wonderful video based on the Ninja Gaiden series going over the history of Ryu Hayabusa and all his games he shows up in, so be sure to check that out. It would be cliche to say I'm like a kid in a candy store right now, but if that was the case, I would be walking out of here with diabetes. The store is brimming with gaming's past, present, and future. Everywhere I turn, there's another piece of history calling to be placed on my wall at home. I could only imagine what it's like to work here. Is it hard to not walk out every day with something new and just completely blow your paycheck here?
For me, yeah, because there's something that comes out that we get in there. I end up, saying, I'm not going to spend anything. I'm not going to spend anything. Something comes in, then I end up.
Yeah, I'm doing that now, and I got to pay daycare payment. How long have you been working here?
I'm about to actually make a decade.
It seems like there's a lot of lifers here, people who've been here for a hot minute. How has the community from that aspect changed in the time you've been here?
A lot and not that much at all, to be honest. There's always brand new faces that we see, but we are very community focused, so we're always trying to get people to become a part of our bigger community.
I've seen customers come in with the kids, grandkids that know more about the retro games.
Yeah.
Surprisingly now, as instead of they want to play the modern games, they would rather go for the retro game systems like the NES or the Sega Saturn or anything like that.
I have this weird world in my head where I'm like, my kid's 2, and I'm like, all right, when you turn 4, I got my first Nintendo when I was about 4. So I'll start him on that and be like, he's going to want to play the Bluey game for Xbox.
There'll be some customers that haven't come in years due to like some of their personal difficulties, and it's always nice to see with them. They catch up with us, and we're about it building and establishing a community at the end of the day.
It's a combination of old and new that kind of brings people together. It's not just the games, the vinyl, the toys, temporary tattoos, which I will probably walk away with at some point today. Like it's absolutely crazy.
I joked with Dan about those temporary tattoos. It was like from the 80s. I'm like, hey Dan, do we really want to sell this gum? Because like it's really gum with tattoos.
Gum in it too?
Yes.
Questionable bubblegum aside, I was likely missing the real history of the store. My undiagnosed ADD was on overdrive as I walked through, so it seemed like a smart idea to get the insider's take on the collection.
Well, what are kind of the prize pieces that you see here?
My top 3 prize pieces, I could actually show it to you.
Yeah, please,
we have them
I love
displayed in the museum section.
Yeah.
The super wow item is up here. This is actually a developer system PS2.
Oh, wow.
They were never really put on market, and developers that got them actually got some sort of almost NDA agreement to never put these for like sale. Then my next 2 favorite items are behind you. This is a special gunmetal Japanese edition of a PS3 system.
It was black. I didn't realize that.
But the signature on it is actually from Kojima himself.
No wonder I can't read it. The man's handwriting is about as wild as his game.
He was doing a book signing. I forget exactly when, but this is in the early 2000s. So it's like pre-2010. In the Barnes & Noble that's located across Union Square Park.
Yeah.
The owner found out about it and he rushed with the system there, and he said Kojima almost put a smile on his face when he realized he was signing something other than a book.
That's amazing.
And then the other piece I like is actually right underneath it, the Shigeru Miyamoto signed DS system. This one has a similar story, but Miyamoto was actually doing a signing on Nintendo World, and the first 100 got the I want to say signed, but it's not actually signed. It's a photocopy of like Mario's 25th anniversary cake thing. But you know, these are items that you really can't get anywhere.
You guys been at this location since what, 2005?
We have 20 years already.
20 years. So 20 years just at this location, not including the original St. Mark's location, and still having this small, homey kind of grassroots style to it.
You get like experiences from customers. Like a couple of weeks ago, I wore a Jimmy Neutron shirt, and I had a customer like, she kind of just started ranting to me about like this one particular Christmas experience. The brother ended up bugging his parents like long enough to get a Mario Kart for GameCube. Being a kid, he opened it up early, started unlocking stuff.
Yeah.
So the parents kind of got back at him, swapped the disc of like Mario Kart with like a Jimmy Neutron game in it, and like that shirt just brought back that whole experience with her. Like, it's just, you know, she was obviously happy to talk about it. I was happy to listen. Like, it was a great day.
Well, I think that's also, you know, speaks to the problem that I feel like some people may have had with a GameStop experience, for instance. It's not to say that the people who work there didn't also love and appreciate games.
Also worked at GameStop.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I'm sure the difference is night and day between sort of that corporate experience.
Not even
and this.
close.
A lot of football here. Turns out that maybe people are sick of yearly football games. So we got more old school stuff, more PS2, more original PlayStation. And of course, because you have so many things here behind glass, if you want something a little less quality, there is plenty more to choose from, just hidden away. It's kind of like when your mom won't buy you Lucky Charms, but she goes shopping for breakfast down at the lower aisle. To call something a video game enhancer sounds like the kind of pills they sell behind the counter at a bodega if you're over 50 and having trouble buy yourself a video game enhancer. But one of my favorite facts here, Rival Turf, Brawl Brothers, and the Peacekeepers. 3 games, seemingly unrelated, except that they are a trilogy, but they are only a trilogy in every other country. When they came to the US, they changed everyone's names, completely erased any relation to the other games, and thought they would just sell better. But they are, in fact, part of a single trilogy. Owning a Neo Geo was the equivalent of owning a Tesla. It's a sign that your family has way too much money. It's a Milton Bradley board game based on Donkey Kong, with what might be the most frightening depiction of Donkey Kong I've ever seen. If it didn't look so aged, I would swear to God it was AI upscaling. Like there was a level of more detail than is necessary in the, it's not a butt chin, what is it, like a butt upper lip? I'm familiar with the TurboGrafx CD, but I had no clue how big it was. That's insane. But it makes the PS5 look like a Game Boy. Is that a rumble pack? That is a baseball-shaped peripheral for the Nintendo 64 controller. So is it like a rumble pack that only works with MLB games?
Gaming, music, artifacts. I can barely take 2 steps without feeling like the ads from an old GamePro magazine have come to life Toy Story style and made a new home in a tiny New York storefront. But this isn't the whole story still. I know what lies in these hallowed halls. I regularly make excuses to poke my head in whenever I can. What I want to know is what makes this place tick. How this storefront becomes the facade supporting the gaming underground of New York City. And the only way to do that was to talk to one of the minds that have kept this store running for nearly 20 years.
All right, guys, so I'm now here, man himself, Dan Mastin, who, general manager, official title?
For the store, yes.
For the
General
store.
manager for other
Man
parts of our
of
company.
all trades. So talk a little bit about, it feels like a loaded question. What do you do here?
It's easier to answer what I don't do, you know? I mean, number one, it's the interaction with customers. So, you know, everyone that we employ, everyone here, you know, our job and our goal here is to actually, you know, human to human,
Right.
you know, have these conversations and just help you on what you're looking for. But beyond that, you know, it is my job to make sure we have good product, to find new stuff, to keep the direction of the store in line with our original goals.
Obviously, like one of the biggest appeals of the store and the one that gives you guys the most notoriety is the older collection. And like, how do you go about sourcing that?
It's ever changing, you know, definitely part of being in a big city with a store that's been around for 2 decades. You know, people know where we are.
Yes.
You know, even if you're not into this, someone will tell you, hey, we know a place where you can go. You know, you can trade this stuff in, you can get it repaired. These guys will at least tell you what you have. But also being honest people, you know, we've spent a better part of this, you know, educating people on it. But also if you walked in the door with something that's worth a ton of money, we're going to be open and honest with you.
Right,
you know?
right. I think that's one thing that you guys do well here is the heart, the community aspect. When you take something, when something becomes too big, you know, it becomes a machine. It's obviously
It's also when it becomes disconnected, you know. So everybody, no matter if you're CEO or the newest person in the door, you're still interfacing, you know, with people, whether it's through emails, through in-store. And our strength isn't so much that we have a huge amount of retro. It's not that we've been here for 20 years. It's that we have a community, but also we listen to people and that we can transition, you know, in just months' time, you know, we can bring something in that the community wants.
But you mind giving us your version of the tour of this? Let's go ahead and let's go a quick walk and kind of show off what are the things on here that you're like, you know, proud of?
Everything.
Everything. Oh my God, it's so like already. It's like I don't need a Famicom notebook.
When the Famicom Classic came out in Japan, they actually did this whole set of like, you know, back to school office things. It was never a big seller, but it's just one of those things where the nuance of it was so unique and it's so cute, but also none of it's traditionally expensive.
No, but they say this is the exact view of this store where I literally picked this up to make a joke, and now like 5 seconds later, I'm like, can I buy the $100 gift bag? You got a lot of the Game Chop stuff on here.
Game Chops, ship to shore material.
Right,
you know,
right,
these
yeah.
are
All these people who have been also doing this.
great alignments, but for us to step in and also just be very dedicated to the music has just been a new proponent to our store, but it's actually something that's new to these record stores. So now we're kind of trying to get together all these brands and we're reapproaching record stores to actually do this. So this takes us down the distribution route. Again, being a business that's both a publisher, a distributor, and a retail store, you know, we start to help change the market and the community for the better.
But yes, you got the Amiibos. I noticed, look at these earlier, the Double Dragon. Are these like, what are they, scratch and sniffs? Like what are these?
Those are like scratch off ones. So it's actually like a game.
Oh,
so you could
that's cool.
theoretically only get so many. Those scratch off cards don't actually scratch off anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're just so old that you can't actually without
Not even like a
damaging
quarter
it.
or something. Yeah.
So same with like the tattoos that came out. They don't really work anymore.
damn, because I was going to buy one of the.
They kind of work, but the artwork on those was exclusive to it.
Oh, okay.
You know, so that artwork had been created for those by a mixture of artists, you know, with Nintendo's seal of approval. It's one of the only few times they really released a commercial product that had kind of exclusive art.
So I just got to take it to a tattoo parlor and get the real thing. You get that bald bull right in like the back of my thigh or
There
something.
you go. My desire, my collecting again is not so much, the top 10 games. It's the games that have a novelty to them. It's a game. It's like, why did this even exist? Because it's so unique and it's so weird. But
it was
it's
a
also
wild
very
west.
worth
People were trying new things. People really wanted to see
They were
where was this industry going.
allowed to try new things. Nowadays it's tough to get a license for that without being an existing company. Would be met with a lot of resistance.
Well, and the indie scene, as great as it is, there's a lot of noise to break through now, and there are people who are doing great work and great art, and there are people who are putting knockoffs up on there in order to bloat the storefront. So originally, before this location, I think it was called St. Mark's Games too. It was technically a different.
We were a couple different things, but yeah, St. Mark's Games. Even earlier before that, we actually had 3 stores in the city, and that was in our infancy. And then we ended up kind of bringing it all together when we bought another business, Multimedia 1.0.
Okay.
We're looking at these stores and managing them individually and what they're turning into. Minus carrying retro, they were becoming very. I don't want to say corporate-like, but they had that
homogenized.
idea.
I think it's
so. It was a moment for us to kind of have a new energy to it, So we kind of, within the next few years, found ourselves like really starting to build up and strengthen this idea of community, but also strengthen this idea of a physical museum, where the store itself is in part a museum that you can come in and buy things from.
This is around the same era that I believe Mr. Kim's Video was also nearby as well, which obviously was a bastion of both kind of indie, obscure, old and new, kind of in their own right.
St. Mark's at that point was a huge focal point for the city.
I grew up in California, but my parents, of course, my mom lived primarily here in New York. And actually lived on Lafayette and Astor Place before that big ugly glass structure got away. You couldn't see the cube anymore.
Back when there was 2 Starbucks.
Right, you're literally
college.
spitting distance from each other. I think this place has always been in my mind because it was even just that Mario outside. I think it was always had that presence there. What was the decision to leave that space?
That was kind of out of necessity. At that moment, the building had been sold. And then the new owners were there for development purposes. They wanted everyone to leave.
A very classic New York story.
We just then kind of came up with our game plan. But as we were thinking about what to do, we were looking at different places in the city. Ultimately, this was meant to be a short-term decision, where we had found this place that would be big enough to grow a little bit, but we knew that we would already outgrow it within a couple years.
It used to be a laundromat? Did I read that?
It was a laundromat.
Wild to me.
But it was mostly gutted, so it was an easy thing to kind of start and work on. But we decided to stay close. Granted, this was in a 30-day period that the gears are grinding on this one.
This is New York real estate at its finest.
But we legitimately sat down and had all these, important conversations about, where is our place in this world? What is our future? What do we bring to this community? And, what are we going to build that we can wake up every day and actually enjoy what we're doing? And then from there, it was just about doing it day in and day out. So the community started responding to that even more. The community started coming to us. We started helping them start giving back to it through events and things like that. Through the power outages and the hurricane, and even through pandemic. We've always felt very fortunate that the people have supported us so well, knowing that it is a hard time, and that's kind of it's very supportive, but it's also very humbling because we've spent so much time trying to do right between the people that walk in the door every day and not look at them as like dollar signs.
It's a lasting legacy, to say the least. But how has community led to their current success in this climate? What goes into making a brand of culture? As we walked through the store, draped in the glow of the museum section, I had to get down to the heart of it all, to what Video Games New York truly is.
You mentioned sort of the passion of staying indie. And, we were talking a little about the GameStop. I also think of, I think it was 8-Bit Games and Up, which was not too far from here, that I believe shuttered in 2023. What is the secret of being able to maintain your independence in an industry that is increasingly getting more and more commercial?
I mean, there's not just one thing that's a secret to it, but it is a recipe of things.
Okay.
Part of it is just about being passionate. You know, that's an incredible thing to it, you know, especially when the lows are low. If you're not passionate about it, it's easy to check out and walk away. A lot of it is also about community, to build something that people can respect. And you do that through respecting people, you know, where we have people that I've seen as kids with their parents are now shopping here as parents with their kids. And things like that, we've been, you know, again, beneficial enough to be around this long, but it's about making smart decisions. It's about knowing when to take the risk and knowing when not to take the risk, but it's just, a lot of it is just really about being connected to your source and being nimble, and being able to identify that area that, you know, in the future, this is going to be relevant.
Video Games New York is also very influential to the nerd culture scene here in New York. As someone who, you know, has tried to throw a much smaller scale events themselves, like tournaments and stuff like that, how do you approach growing that culture, and how have you guys seen it shift in time or grow?
I would say growth is the more appropriate term. You know, it's growing with more people being into it. You know, New York is one of those special places where, you know, the aversion to commercialism, but also the ability to not need it. You know, we don't have to go.
Say the aversion of commercialism and Wall Street being right around the corner.
But I mean, look, you can go big and you can get people to wait in line. You know, New Yorkers will wait in line for anything.
Oh my God, in any weather.
But at the same time, the flip-flop of that, you know, being subtle, you know, being something that just connects to people as a desire to go there. But that comes down to not bringing in a marketing team. That comes down to not needing to make a big hubbub about it, because we don't have a sponsoring partner behind it, because we don't have a commercial product that we are necessarily front and center trying to move. You know, we have connections and we work with people on things that we like, but there's never anyone that calls us up that we allow that, you know, is like, hey, I want you guys to promote this. We're going to pay you a bunch of money, because we're the first ones to say, I need to try it first to see if we actually want to do it. In part, a lot of it is more or less special to New York. You know, the way that people are here, the way that you know, we're not necessarily aligned to be a tourism place. We are not aligned to be a marketed place. We are aligned for the people that live in the city, that work in the city, that visit the city, but more so in a way that we connect to people.
So you bring up that, you know, you don't have to endorse or put your name on anything, but through your own publishing arm, you know, this is a perfect example of an area where you are putting your names on things that you guys believe in. How did entering the publishing game come about, and what has that experience been like?
It's been interesting, rewarding.
That was a loud pause.
All in a good way, you know. So, you know, being a store that's been around, you know, we carry everything. We strive to get all the indie publishers. So we worked with every single company out there globally that was on an independent level, say, hey, we want to represent your product. We want to bring it to our community. Our community, you know, really respects this, but also is very much into it.
Right.
But just as time goes on, you know, after years of being even distributor for that stuff, we started to notice that there's just the influx of games is growing. The indie developers, even 1 and 2 person teams, are making games now faster that can actually be released. I
mean, Hollow Knight Silksong just crashed 3 different storefronts as an indie game, which I don't think many mainstream games have done. So like, it's a sign of growth right there.
Really been like the call to nature, where these indie games really are just pushing the envelope. And just, you know, being so physically connected, being so much into preserving things. As we started to look at all these publishers, we still had all these notes of things that we don't like the way they do things. We had the ignorance, but also the
ignorance is bliss, baby. There we go.
The benefit of being able to kind of like set our own mold.
Right.
You know, so without having to read other contracts and without having to even be indoctrinated with what is the norm of the industry, you know, we got to sit down and say, you know, none of this makes sense. Why would I have a clause in my contract to take your product from you? This was all very, very silly to us. You know, to us, you know, us bringing your stuff to the physical market is a celebration of what you made. You've made something notable enough that we feel that it needs to be in the physical realm, that people can hold it and hug it.
It's one's creativity, it's their passion. For some people, these are stories or characters they came up with as kids that they've fine-tuned and finally get to share with the world. It feels almost selfish to take that away from people and try to monetize stealing their babies from them, but no, I digress.
It just seemed very unnatural,
right?
That, you know, these guys don't get any exposure for making this. You know, we don't have a product without you. And we don't hide that we are just taking it. I mean, we're doing a tremendous amount of work to transition it, ESRB rated,
But
redo
you're
everything.
looking to support, right? You're not looking to say this is ours, but you're looking to actually elevate
Absolutely,
these
are
things you
looking
believe
to
in.
take their product to the next level. We came up with a whole bunch of frustratingly wonderful things that we do. You know, everything that we created in that standpoint, where we create in some versions of our product, like a booklet inside of it that has nothing to do with how to play it.
Right.
We don't care about that. There's no legal terms or anything in these booklets. It is really a booklet we've created with the developers to show you more in the background of it, you know, early artwork, sprites. It also, every single one of them has a page to tell you like who made this, what is their story. Often they create a page that's also about the music. Who made the music? What was the inspiration? How did you come into this project?
Such a big part of the game.
But it's also an opportunity for the developers to say, hey, I want to focus on something like this. You know, there's a part of the story that no one really got that didn't make it into the game. And we put it in there.
On top of the other community aspect, which is Video Games New York events. Were you guys setting up shop at cons first and then decided to start going into this more experiential design aspect? Or did this kind of come together being like, you know what, we love going to these cons, but we'd love to see something more, and people seem like they need our help? Like, where did that come about?
You know, it really started with just the call from the community. You know, we already have a vast amount of equipment, you know, that we repair. So we just started kind of like storing it up as we got calls for more and more things. Back in the day, we used to do, you know, MTV TRL Green Room.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
wild.
we did
Yeah,
a lot of stuff with Conan O'Brien. And Jimmy Fallon was a customer of ours before he landed the Tonight Show. So in his early years, again, you know, they would call us and we would help source things for that before their exclusive Microsoft deal. So during like his early World Championships and stuff like that, we would often help out, provide equipment, provide consulting for it. And it was just these odd jobs, you know. It would be like a convention say, hey, I need some CRTs, or it'd be like a community group that wanted to do like a Mario Kart event, say, hey, can you help us with this? So the answer was always just yes, sure. It was more about helping the community, and we officially spun it off to VGNY events, where we started to do management of bigger things, you know. So we started really getting to FGC, we started really getting into like modern console stuff. Out of pandemic, we made it official, where we just started reaching out to a lot of these big shows. We started to commit some more space to it, to get some official equipment. We started reaching out to some of the bigger companies to actually run their sponsored events.
Right.
And we started, you know, handling game rooms and things for shows that we felt needed it. Like, hey, you know, we know that you guys are sourcing your stuff from your volunteers. You know, I think your show is now at a point where it deserves to have a little bit more, you know, consistency, but also let's make sure everything works. Let's take it to the next level. And from there, that part kind of grew. But also, we never left the point where we really wanted to connect to community. Right. So, you know, we reach out to schools and we make our equipment available to groups, to community things, to little things. You know, a lot of that we even do, you know, pro bono, where it's just like, you know, a charity needs some stuff, you know, can we make it available? And the answer is yes, because again, it's here.
As someone, cheap plug, I MC as an announcer for wrestling events. I host tournaments, and I want to do more of that kind of stuff. As someone who's looking to kind of carve that niche in that community, like, what advice do you have for people who are trying to do new things in the game space, whether it's here in New York or even just in their own communities that may even have less of something available?
I would say the passion. You know, don't forget about the passion. Don't forget about the connection to your interest, because the moment that it becomes about money, the moment it becomes a financial incentive, is where it becomes a grind. You know, so suddenly you're letting go, you're making concessions on what your vision is, and it starts to either become the same as everyone else, but you also start to distance yourself from other people doing the same thing, because they're no longer friends, they're no longer of similar interests. Now they start to become competitive. They're just focused on building what they're building. So they've found some good headway. So it's not even that they're consciously...
It's a very political answer, which is smart.
They're not consciously like trying to, but now you're aligning. You're now both doing the same thing. We are strong believers that there's enough of this community for everyone to share.
A rising tide raises all ships.
All we should do is try to work together. And if you're doing something right and connect to, your stuff will only get better.
What does the future have in store for Video Games New York? Do you have your fingers in enough pots, or are there even more things on the horizon that we can be looking forward to? And exclusively mentioning.
Sign that NDA. No. I mean, it's something that music has become a huge part of it, you know, so we have some announcements coming up for that. You know, game releases are only going to strengthen and speed up. You know, now we've finalized like these cool editions where we're doing more and more with physical items. You know, we're getting a lot more offers from developers coming to us. They like what we do. They like how we treat them. They like how we are easy to work with. So development on a new product is going to grow in video games. Music is definitely going to go as we step into more mainstream licensed music and release that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, we want to be able to continue to expand, but you know, it's something that we call into our community. You know, we are now starting to align with the big media push where we want to start to create non-commercial content, you know, using the store as a base. So we're going to start reaching out to people from the community to start, you know, directing and bringing on some of that. You know, the store is going to be an open push to actually become a backdrop for these things, but not in a commercial sense. We don't want commercials to come out of here, but we want to be an interview space. You know, if we released a new book that's in the video game realm, you know, come here, sit down, have your interviews about it, you know, invite the press in to use us as a venue.
If people want to get in touch either with you or with VG New York as a whole, like, and, you know, find ways to get involved with the community with the various stuff you're doing, or just come here and browse that otherwise they're not able to in person, where can people reach out to you guys?
Almost anywhere. You know, the beauty is that we're so accessible. You know, email, jump on the website, click contact us, jump on any social media site. You know, our real employees are going to read this. We don't have any chat bots or anything like that.
Right. Everyone's here.
Exactly. Like the people answering that, they're actually humans, but they're actually staff of the business. But also we're open every day of the year, not just every day of the week. You know, we're actually open all the time because this is New York. You know, some of our best customers have jobs that don't get conventional days off. So the only days
no one
they
has a
can
real
visit
job
us,
in New York.
right?
I'm here on a Tuesday. No one has a real job in New York.
But the only day they can visit us are days that are actually like federal holidays. So we've actually made it a point to stay open for those people on these holidays because they are the ones that this is the only break they get to come in. So we're always here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Awesome. Dan, thank you so much, guys. Video Games New York. I mean, good chance if you watch any retro gaming content, you've seen one of your favorite YouTubers come through here and purchase. But it's so great to get a little bit of a sneak behind what goes into making a place like this work when so many others haven't. I'm going to at least buy a piece of gum and see how good that stuff still is. I'm definitely curious.
Just as a forewarning.
No.
They
are not legally responsible for the dumb I'm willing to do on camera.
They're sold as a collectible item.
As I walk away from this amazing store with far more than I probably should have spent on gear, I can't help but smile a little bit, be happy about, well, really all of it. This blend of past and present as it comes together here at Video Games New York. I mean, everything they do has been absolutely awe-inspiring. Truth is, this is not the last you or I am going to hear of Video Games New York. As I've said, they have their hands and paws in every event, party, what have you. But it does give you a new appreciation for every piece of community experience that happens here in New York City, and really across the board, laying the groundwork to make stuff like this and the stuff they work on in the indie scene all possible. So I'm happy. I'm going to have a ill-advised piece of Nintendo gum from the 1980s. And if you don't hear from me again, you know why. Nonetheless, I would love to hear from you. Did you like this? This brings something new for GameRant. I want to be able to visit more places. If you have a person, place, or possibly thing that you want us to cover here, let me know. And for everything you need in the culture and community of gaming, stay tuned to GameRant. Oh,